Hey everyone, SweetJohnnyCage here, back with another guide for Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. This time I'm going to show you how to defeat the Demon of Hatred. The Demon of Hatred is a secret boss at the very end of the game. In order to find him, or it, you need to re-explore Ashina Outskirts, and eventually you will come across a sculptor's idol that transports you back to where you fought Gyobu, but instead of the horse boss, you will find the Demon of Hatred. The Demon of Hatred is quite tough for a hidden boss. He's pretty challenging. All of his attacks are fire-based, or most of them at least, so be sure to carry some dousing powder on you. It'll definitely come in handy. All of his attacks as well will deal half or more of your HP just about, so make sure you have a lot of gourd seeds or a lot of healing gourd ready. I came into this with 9. I still hadn't bought the 10th seed yet, and I managed to do okay. So, the number one enemy in this fight, aside from the demon itself, is the terrain. You have to be very careful where you are walking and running before fighting him. So just get the lay of the land before you go nuts on him. In Phase 1, he has a number of attacks that are pretty easy to avoid. A lot of them have to deal with his left hand, which is on fire. He is able to wind it up, slam it down. The best way around that is just sort of run away to the left or the right, and you will avoid it. I like baiting him into the lookout towers, get him to knock them down. Just frees up the area a little bit better. He also has these big stomps. It is worth it attempting to parry it or deflect it, but it is not worth it to follow up after you deflect. It's worth it to just run away, because he has a tendency to attack a lot quicker than you can really anticipate, especially if you're trying to get a hit or two in after you do that. But yeah, so really that's sort of it. You want to just avoid his left hand, avoid all of his wind-up attacks, avoid all of his flame attacks, and that's really it. Just try to deflect the one stomp and then move away, and then eventually you'll be able to whittle him down. It's really just about going in, poking, running away. He also has that attack where he throws fireballs. That's a little bit more difficult to avoid for the simple fact that they can deal a lot of damage from far away. But eventually, you will get through Phase 1. And I didn't cover a lot of the moves in Phase 1 because it does go kind of quick, but Phase 2 is where things really take off. Be aware that you cannot deal damage to him while he's transitioning between Phases 1 and 2, but you can between Phases 2 and 3. In Phase 2, he gets even more fire and gets a couple additional abilities. So he gets this one right here where he sort of turns sideways, slams his arm down, and then you get a grapple point. Be very careful. You can grapple him from very far away, but the further away you are, the less opportunity you have to attack. So as you're falling down to him from grappling, press R1 a couple times. You should be able to get a couple falling slashes, but he has a tendency to do a headbutt after. If you notice him turning all red, like his whole body gets consumed with fire, he's going to do a big jump. Simply move away a little while, and then he will have another grapple point on him. You can grapple onto that, do a couple falling slashes, and deal some damage. That right there is those fireballs are really hard to avoid unless you're at the perfect distance. This ability here where he summons fire orbs and sends them after you, they're very easy to avoid actually. All you gotta do is run left or right continuously in a circle and you'll avoid them. If you're lucky enough to be close to him when he summons them, you can get a ton of damage on him because after he stances out or gets into that arms open stance, you can sort of hit him for a whole bunch of damage. But yeah, as you can see, the further you are away, sometimes you'll be out of grapple range, so you don't want to get too far away from the boss, especially when he's going to slam his arm sideways and give you the opportunity to grapple onto him. But yeah, so aside from that, that's really his only new move in Phase 2 is that sort of sideways slam with the new grapple point. He does have this ability still, though, the unblockable charge. All you gotta do is jump over it. But in Phase 2, he has a high chance, if you don't chase him after he does the unblockable, if you don't chase him, he will follow that up with a sideways slam. And just right there, as you can see, the camera went a little crazy because I got my back up against a wall. And like I said, you have to be very careful with the terrain in this fight. It's basically another boss, so you have to be very, very careful. But as you can see here, he's summoning orbs and I'm still very close to him. All I'm doing is literally holding left and run. And then after he shoots the last one, I get a bunch of free damage on him, no problem. And now he's going to charge up, he's going to jump, I'm going to jump in response, and then immediately grapple on. You want to try to delay your R1 as late as possible so you can get a couple falling slashes. I deflect the kick and I run away. The reason for that is because he starts whipping around his left arm and deals a lot of damage if you get hit by it, obviously. So I just try to avoid it at all costs. You got to treat this guy like a Bloodborne boss, but without the ability to shoot them in the face to parry them. Just, go in, get a couple hits, run out, rinse and repeat. So Here he has a big wind-up attack where he can just swoop his arm out, so you don't want to be too close to him for too long. He also has a lunge attack, which is really tough to see. He uses it pretty sparingly, so just try to be mindful of it. But as you can see here, he did the unblockable running attack. I just leapt over the first hit, and then since I didn't chase after him too hard, he did the sideways arm slam, and I just grappled onto him. Throws the fireballs. He's going to do another slam. The way you can tell the difference between the regular slam and the grapple slam is the grapple slam, he literally turns his whole body. So if you're having trouble picking up on that, look for him to turn his whole body sideways. You can stagger this boss similar to what you could do to the Guardian Ape. If you deal enough damage to him, he will just get staggered and you could just get a bunch more free damage on him. It does take a while though, probably only happen once per phase. And that's if you can get a lot of quick successions of attacks on him. But here, I'm trying to block the attacks because I'm trying to stay close to him, but it's sort of not worth it sometimes. Like I said, that sweep, the running sweep rather, it does a ton of damage. Here he's going to do a headbutt. Oh, actually, he backs up there. If you grapple onto him after too long, he can headbutt you right as you land, so you got to be very careful. Sometimes it's just worth it to not even grapple and just let him do something else. But yeah, as you can see there, the terrain blocked one of the fireballs. So it's really important that you get a lay of the land and just get very comfortable with your surroundings before investing too much time into this fight. Don't be afraid to take a couple attempts to just learn the boss. But yeah, as you can see here, I did a pretty cinematic grapple finish. So you can hit him a few times as he's transitioning here. You'll see that I actually deal some damage, so don't be afraid to go in on him. He doesn't have like another big explosive AoE. Phase 3 is where things get very wild. He has this brand new attack. It's an unblockable sweep. You can jump over the first one, but jumping over the second one is a little bit difficult. I recommend not getting close to him when he's doing that. Run away, because he's going to summon a ring of fire, and if you're in it, he's in it. So he can run through the fire, you cannot. But for his unblockable running sweep attack in Phase 3, he will run back again, so you have to jump twice and dodge 2 of them. What I recommend is after the second one, chase after him. You can get some damage on him. But he does have a 50-50 opportunity to do a sideways slam that you can grapple onto, or he could just do what he did in Phase 1 and just sort of stop and stance out. So it's really up to you what you want to do. Also, on the very rare chance, he can also throw fireballs again. But as you can see here, he just ran once, stanced out, and that was sort of it. So he's going to do a sideways slam. We're going to grapple. I'm going to try to hit him once, but luckily he runs away. And I say luckily because sometimes he just won't, and he'll just headbutt you into the ground. But here we go. He's going to do a big ring of fire. I don't like staying in these things. There might be a strategy where you can deal a ton of damage to him. If you decide to stay in, I just don't recommend it. It's not my cup of tea. So I just let him come out. Try to put enough distance between you and the ring of fire to where you have a while to move. But as you can see here, I'm going to chase him through both. He's just going to stance out. He doesn't really do much of a follow-up. He goes into a completely separate attack sequence there. So if you chase him after the second run, you can get some free damage on him. So yeah, we're just sort of staying under him, trying to deal as much damage as we can. Just trying to bait out some attacks. Not really sure how I avoided that one. I think I sidestepped at the exact right moment. But yeah, so he still has the leap. Really the only new stuff in Phase 3 is that big ring of fire, which is a lot easier to avoid than you might think. So just keep that in mind. You can avoid pretty much everything. Yeah, so that's sort of it. That's the new stuff for Phase 3. Everything else stays from Phases 1 and 2. He just sort of keeps upgrading in each phase. It's not like Sword Saint where he becomes a completely different boss or anything. He just sort of gets 1 or 2 new abilities per phase, and then you just got to incorporate that into your general strategy. But yeah, so he still has the orbs. No big deal. You just run sideways to avoid them. Like I said, as you can see, there's a ton of hills over here. There's still a lot of debris that he has knocked down. Fences and guard posts and all that sort of stuff. There's also corpses on the ground. There's a couple of horse corpses. So you just gotta be very, very careful, in this neighborhood. Yeah, that's sort of it. There's not much else to say. As you just saw, if you grapple from too far away, he could just headbutt you as soon as you land. But you do want to be very mindful of that. What I have noticed, though, what you can do is if you have a hill to jump off of, you can get a lot of air attacks off on him before he really does much about it. So if you want to incorporate that into your strategy, don't be afraid to just do a bunch of air attacks as you're jumping towards him. It's pretty effective. But here again, you can see that he does a ring of fire, I just completely avoid it. It's not worth it, in my opinion, to try to fight him in there. Fighting this guy in close quarters for too long without the opportunity to run away, not a good idea. He does also have that leaping attack that he only ever did once or twice. It's very obvious what he's doing. It's really easy to avoid. So just keep that in mind. But that one jumping attack where he's trying to hit you with his right arm instead of his flaming arm, very easy to avoid. You could probably deflect it if I put money on it. But yeah, I have him really low here. It's only a couple more hits, and then that's it. All right. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment. I'll do my best to help you out and give you some additional tips if you have any specifics that you're getting hung up on. If you're looking for more guides for Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, please subscribe to the channel so you get alerted when new ones go live. If you're looking for any other boss guides, this is the final boss guide that I'm doing. Please check out the playlist that is appearing on your screen now. All right, I'm SweetJohnnyCage. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.